is hello everyone and welcome, happy Easter. This is Brandy Rose Smith live from the Forbidden Library, and we're reading more of Letters in the Attic by Meredith Lindsey. Welcome everyone, welcome Void, welcome Rahel, welcome Void Traveler, welcome Normal Size Phantom, welcome Twitch, welcome YouTube, welcome Lurkers, welcome Voiders. Vodders of the future. Yeah, I thought I'd stick with the bunny ears today. Like I was wearing them for my putting the retin for the retin. Hi Boris, welcome. Yeah, so I thought I had the ears on already after the Final Fantasy stream, so I thought, you know what, why not? It's Egg Day. Has everyone had some tasty Easter eggs? I haven't. I will probably go to the shop after Easter and get them on discount. That's my plan. Hello, Jabba, welcome. Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Today we celebrate the return of humanity's savior. I am, of course, referring to Godzilla. I will be celebrating that tomorrow. We'll be going to see that movie tomorrow. I've had a really fun weekend, actually. No, I had tasty... Ooh, Easter lamb dough. Oh, I did miss out on an Easter roast dinner as well, actually, now I think about it. I did have some tasty curry, though. I went to this place called Mowgli. And you can have curry gacha. There's an option where you just go, give me meat curry. And they'll give you three small helpings of 3 different meat curries on the menu. It's great. They're all tasty. So it's wonderful. What else did you do? I also went to a shopping center the weekend. I've never been before, and it was humongous. And there was loads of statues and stuff. And it felt like basically an art gallery. I felt like I was walking through like an art gallery rather than a shopping center. It was crazy. And I've seen a bit of family that I haven't seen in a while as well. That's been my weekend so far. And then we're going to round it off with Godzilla tomorrow. It's going to be great. I'm so happy that we are in an era of new and great Godzilla films. Harrods. I don't want to specify because, you know, not doxing myself, but it definitely wasn't Harrods. I have been to Harrods once upon a time when I was much younger, and I wanted to buy one of the Digimon Tamagotchis there, but I wasn't allowed. Right. Shall we recap the story so far? How far are we in? I can't see properly. 37% of the way into this book. On part 4, that's actually this is quite long, actually. We're not even halfway. God damn, we got a lot to go with this book. Let's go. Right, so what's happened so far? Cammy's dad killed 2 other people in a drunk driving collision, and because of that, her and her mum got bullied out of their former town. I can't remember where it was. A different American state to the one they're in. What state are they in now? I can't remember, but they're in a little town called Green Peaks, which is kind of in the middle of nowhere, and they're starting their lives again in a town where her uncle and auntie live. Her uncle is the principal of the school. She's made friends with the art geeks. She's part of the art club now. But she lives in Twin Peaks, but green. Mavi. She lives in a really big, creepy house at the sort of edge of town that's surrounded by what is called the Cursed Woods, which isn't ominous at all. And she keeps feeling like someone's watching her. When she explores her house, she finds in the attic a little paper bird folded up, and inside is a love letter to her. Well, she doesn't know it's to her to begin with. She's like, oh, I hope it's for me. I wish it was for me. Because it was really sweet and it just made her happy. And since she's going through a lot of grief and stuff, it's just a little light that she held on to. And I don't blame her. I don't blame her. It goes on. She goes up there like the next day and she finds another letter. And this time it says her name. It's definitely for her. So she starts freaking out a little bit. So she tries to stake it out the next night. Only to find the person leaving the letters doesn't physically enter the house. The window magically opens on its own, and the paper bird literally flies itself to the table. So magic is involved. Eventually, she's like, well, how am I going to communicate with this person? So she decides to stay up at night. She writes a letter for them and folds it into a paper aeroplane. So when the window opens, she throws it out. And she starts talking to the boy who lives in the forest called Zeke. He is a magical boy. He is a witch of some description. And his people live in the forest and have escaped from society. Sounds great. Always the cursed woods, but never the woods of free biscuits. Would never trust the woods of free biscuits, though. I'd want it, but never trust. Probably want to eat you. It's probably a fae. Never trust. So now she's living something of a double life. She's staying up at night talking to her witch boy and then trying to go to school. But she's kind of zoning out because it's very hard to do both of these things because, you know, the human body needs sleep. She also needs to talk to people because it's so hard to keep this to herself as well. Luckily, she's managed to talk to her bestie from the old school via the phones. But everyone else she needs to keep it a secret from because he's trusted her with his secrets. Therefore, he needs to keep them secret. But I think that's about where we were up to. Oh yeah, and some girl's gone missing. Kind of important plot point, but yeah, some girl who came to visit for the holidays has gone missing because her parents thought she'd gone back home to uni, but her uni friends hadn't heard from her, so she's just poof, gone missing. It's not anyone who got introduced to the plot, so it's not too important, but it's probably a little important. Probably a little important. For chapter 13. What are you doing here? My voice was hushed as I glanced back at the house. No one was home, and the trees provided ample protection if someone happened to pull into our driveway at that moment. We were safe for now. I hoped. Zeke, the YA is to name of the witch boy, smiled and held my arms, standing back to get a good look at me. His eyes raked over every inch of my body, and I could feel a blush creep into my cheeks as he lingered on my mouth. I just wanted to see you, he whispered, and I melted. Ugh, boys! I pulled him in for a hug and closed my eyes as his scent enveloped me. Smoke, pine needles, and fresh air. A concoction that was distinctly Zeke. When we finally broke apart, he took my hand and led us further into the trees. His grip was soft and warm, and my hand tingled at his touch. He stopped after a minute of walking and sat down on an overturned tree, patting the spot to his left. I thought it was safe for you to come out here during the day. I thought it wasn't safe for you to come out here during the day, I asked as I perched on the log beside him. There wasn't much light filtering through the canopy above us, but in our close proximity, I could just make out the circles under his eyes. I knew he was observing the same dark rings on my own face when he brought a hand up to touch them gently with his fingertips. I miss so much because my phone doesn't want to behave. What I missed since you started? Not too much. Witch boy's here, and now they're in the forest. That's pretty much all you've missed. Oh, and I gave a recap. Unless you mean started the stream. Yeah, I gave a recap. You missed the recap. Not going through the recap again. You're tired, he stated. It wasn't a question. I shrugged my shoulders. We were sitting close enough that my arm brushed against his leather sleeve with the movement. So are you. We stared at each other for another moment before he laced his fingers through mine once again. Our current method of communication isn't working, Zeke sighed. I'm dead on my feet during the day. My mother's started to take notice. Not to mention, he smiled and squeezed his hands, I don't like not seeing you. My chest ached. I was glad it wasn't just me. But aren't they wondering where you are? I was happy that he was here, and I was finally getting to spend some real time with him, but I didn't want him to get into trouble with his family. How did a coven of witches punish a disobedient teenager? They think I'm patrolling the grounds, keeping an eye out for potential hunting zones or areas that need more enchantments to keep humans out. He poked me in the stomach and I giggled. I was the human that probably needed to be kept out. Besides, he added, a mischievous glint lighting his eyes, I'm thinking I'll bring you to meet them before too long anyway. Oh, he wants her to meet the parents already. Things are moving fast. My jaw dropped. What? I could hear the panic in my voice. Knew it was probably echoing in my eyes, but I couldn't reel it in. Forget about what coven witches do to one of their own members who'd broken rules, but what would they do to me? When they found out I knew about their existence, what measures would they take to ensure I never spoke the truth to anyone? Would they cast a spell to make me mute? Would they turn me into a frog? Teach Zeke a lesson and silence me forever by simply killing me? The possibilities were endless. You can't! I shouted, clapped my hands over my mouth and looked around, but the forest was empty. Why not? His light voice made me want to believe he was joking, but his eyes were soft and probing as he watched my reaction. They were curious, sincere, and perhaps a little hurt by my sudden outburst. I forced myself to breathe evenly as I tried to form a coherent sentence. His thumb traced soft circles on my hand, but I was beyond soothing. The fear of my own death had me choking with hair. Don't you think they'll hurt me when they find out what I know? I enunciated each word clearly, like I was talking to a toddler or a foreign entity that had trouble comprehending my words. Because how could he not understand my concern? They won't hurt you, Zeke sighed. They can't. Now I was the one not understanding. I'd witnessed some of the magic he shared with me, the amazing stunts he performed without so much as lifting a finger, and he'd only been skimming the top of his abilities. But if I had an entire coven pitted against me, I was toast. Zeke saw the confusion in my eyes and leaned his head back, staring at the shelter of leaves. I waited patiently for him to collect his thoughts and squeezed his hand back. When his eyes returned to mine, they were weary. They can't hurt you because they can't hurt any human. Not with magic, anyway. I still think best chat line is Master Shakes, you're a woman want me. I'm what we have in common. That's terrible. So terrible. If I've learned anything from Twilight, and I haven't, the family of the supernatural love interest is extremely accepting of the normal human protagonist. Yes, correct, so nothing could go wrong. He shook his head, lost in thought. Sensing there was more, I bit my tongue and allowed him to go on. It's a balance of nature, I suppose. It's being like this. It's been like this since the beginning of time, as far as we know. Our magic is meant to do good. He paused and sucked in a breath. When magic is used to harm a human, the wielder forfeits their life as they know it. They lose their ability to practice magic and are transformed into an animal. Oh. Wait a minute. Wait a hot sec. So before, when they were talking about the cursed woods, they've said about random animals coming out of it, like kangaroos, things that aren't native to the area. So this means there have been witches that hurt people and lost their ability, turned into magic, and left the forest. It's happened. Oh lordy. Oh no. They live as the remainder of their lives trapped in animal form, existing as a reminder to the rest of us of what using our magic for evil will do. Zeke's eyebrows were drawn together, and I didn't think he realized how tightly he was squeezing my hand. His expression showed the cost of admitting this secret, yet another I was deemed worthy enough to receive. Well, that's lame. What's the point of having magic if you can't divine smite something for cutting you off in traffic? Yeah. I would laugh if I found out that Twilight sucked because of a Smosh episode. I mulled over this new piece of information silently. No wonder they preferred to live secluded from the rest of the world. We could hunt them down with guns, knives, and they wouldn't even be able to defend themselves. I mean, they could pick up guns and knives too. Just because they can't use their magic evilly doesn't mean they can't do anything else. And they wouldn't be able to defend themselves with the threat of this curse. It was comforting knowing... Hello, Sneaky Silk, welcome. Evening. It was comforting knowing they couldn't hex us as they pleased, but at the same time I couldn't stop myself thinking it wasn't fair. Has it ever happened? To any of your people, I mean. His eyes on the ground, Zeke nodded. When the town turned on us, forcing us into the woods, around 20 of my people tried to protect their loved ones and ended up triggering the curse. Another 30 or so died in the escape. The ones who changed helped us start our little community, living as families to those of us that remained. But they've all passed now. Woohoo! Look, it's got an ad. Well done. Yep, ads unfortunately happen now. We can't kill them with magic, but we can cook a fool. Exactly! Exactly. Okay, you're cursed to not use magic to hurt people, but you could use a gun. One time I heard Nuluk say, I may be out of mana, but I ain't out of options, and she got stabby with me. Yes, correct. I always find it odd when they don't adapt to the situation and use technology that is theoretically easily available. Yeah, I don't... With these witches, it may have been they've been in the forest for a little bit too long, and maybe it wasn't easily available at the time. And hello, hope your day is going well. Didn't want to interrupt. No worries, Sneaky Silk. You can interrupt. Interrupt me whenever you wish. I'm happy to chat and read. Don't you worry. Magic missile. Nah, normal missile. Pulls out rocket launcher. Correct. Suddenly the legends around the cursed woods made a lot of sense. The sightings of strange animals had to be the cursed witches that Zeke was talking about. I squeezed his hand again and could see the loss shining through his eyes at the mention of his community's near annihilation. Seeing the dark place this topic was taking him to, I tried to lighten the mood. So, do you get to choose your animal form? Why didn't any of our people turn into a dinosaur and take out the rest of us anyway? Now there's a good way to look at it. And Zeke laughed a deep throaty chortle. No, we don't get to choose what animal we become. He bumped his shoulder against mine playfully. It's thought that our animal form reflects our spirit animal, but no one knows for sure what will be until it actually happens. That's something missing from Jurassic World. Yeah, all these dinosaurs used to be people, by the way. I nodded as if it made sense, as if all this new information was as easy to take in as one of my school subjects. Actually, I suppose it made about as much sense as the imaginary numbers at that point. Be nice, I'm still adapting to cute is... I take it after too many beers. Ah, thank you. It is a cute trick. I love the is, especially because it's like blink, blink, and they bounce when I blink, and it's great. And they stand up straight when I'm shocked. It's wonderful. It's 10 out of 10 well-rigged ears. I leaned into him and looked up at his face. With our substantial height difference, I was almost craning my neck. It's called being short, honey. I bet your spirit animal's a mountain lion, or maybe a wolf, I said quietly. He was leaning down now, closing the space between us. Definitely something manly. Ah, this is how she flirts. Flirting attempt. His breath was warm on my face, disturbing the hairs that escaped from my ponytail and tickling against my cheek. My own breath caught in my throat as the final inches between us disappeared. I closed my eyes. I felt his head jerk up and away from mine, and its sudden absence hit me like a slap in the face. His eyes were wide as he peered towards the entrance of the forest. I followed his gaze, my cheek burning. Being short means I'm perfect head patting height. Yeah, probably. I have a friend who's the perfect height to literally lean on me as well. You know, he just puts his arms on my head and like leans on me, and I hate it. Nah, it's a sea cucumber. You need to go. He jumped up, pulling me off the log with him. I felt a sting in my chest an instant before the hurt painted a shadow on my face. Zeke took one look at me and groaned. I'm so sorry, Cammy. I didn't realize how long we've been out here. He hugged me fiercely before half dragging me out of the woods. Your mother is home. Fear gripped me as I ran along beside him. It wouldn't be easy to explain to my mother why I had been spending time in the forest so close to dusk. I stepped out of the tree cover and prepared to sprint across the yard before turning back to Zeke. When will I see you again? I didn't want him to leave. The warmth of his body next to mine felt like home. I'll be here again tomorrow, after you get out of school. Being short just means you're perfect for them. Your mother is 4'9". Oh Lord, she's short. She is small. I'm taller than that, at least. Not that much taller though. You should have said, that's my favorite soul song from the 70s. I shook my head. I have art club tomorrow. I didn't want to think about the things my friends would do to me if I missed it. Can I see you Saturday? You're 5'7", Void? I am 5'2", I think. Maybe. I haven't measured in a while. Maybe I grew. I don't know. Maybe I shrunk. I hope not. I don't want to shrink. Zeke nodded and carefully took my face in his hands. He breathed in the scent of my hair and kissed my forehead gently, sighing. Go now, Cammy, he whispered. I'll see you soon. Exactly, my last buddy girlfriend was 5'3". It's all good, yeah. I don't think I want to be your buddy girlfriend now. I'll be a kid buddy distraction of your life, but not a girlfriend. At your age, you're definitely shrinking. Shut up, Lucas. Shut up. What's that supposed to be? Natalie pointed to a section of Jason's drawing. We were still in the early stages of our group project, sketching designs and figuring out our interpretations of what the legends surrounding the Cursed Woods entailed. Now this is really awkward. Now she knows the truth of those. Yeah, no, not going down that really good. Fair. I looked to where Natalie was pointing and saw a wide oak tree surrounded by smaller trees, less menacing trees on each side of it. A hole was carved into the tree's body about halfway up, and 2 red eyes gleamed threateningly out of it. Jason shrugged. An owl, maybe? He bent over the paper with his black-colored pencil, darkening the hole even more. Brownie, you don't want to shrink? I thought you didn't like being noticed by people. Being smaller makes it easy to hide in plain sight. Yes, but I'm already a good height for that. And at the same time, I do need to be kind of noticed as a person so that people don't, you know, barrel through me, which, you know, people still do. People almost do. I need to, like, jump out of the way sometimes when people are walking in the opposite direction to me. Because I'm like, God damn it, I'm a person. Go around me. There's room. Why you gotta barrel through me? Hey guys, new idea. We should make a painting about magicians getting hunted down and genocided. Yep, that sounds like a great idea. Darkening the pencil, so to be or not to be. Perfect. I wish I had a curse woods where I grew up. We had a soggy creek where all the high schoolers smoke weed. We had marshlands near where I grew up. So we had legends of, like, the Mudman. where you had to there was lots of different creeks that were really muddy there, and you'd have to jump over them, and if you fell in, then the mud man would come get you later on, and you'd disappear. That's the legends we had. Old fart humor. We love old fart humor. Do not apologize for old fart humor. Do you get detected by some automatic doors? You were that short. No, I definitely get detected by all the automatic doors. Definitely. I'm not that short. Not that short. Did it bog cheese? No, we didn't have bog cheese. Oop north. Indubitably oop north. We had the bogs. Natalie rolled her eyes. An owl? She exchanged a glance with me and we both giggled at his serious expression. Why would an owl have red eyes? Without looking up from his work, Jason chucked an eraser in her direction. Because it's the cursed woods, dummy! It's cursed, therefore the owls have red eyes. Now, if you grew up near a cursed woods, you'd meet Granny, and then your parents would follow you to the Granny and eat you. out of reference for the last story stream that we did. Yay! Yeah, but I'm Welsh and old, so it's double trouble. To protect the world from devastation. To unite all people within the Welsh nation. I returned my attention to my own work. The trees were swaying in the invisible breeze. Some of the leaves detached themselves and floating on the wind. In the middle of the picture was the form of a giraffe, its features somewhat camouflaged within the cover of the trees. Although its body pointed to the right, its head was turned toward the viewer, as if it were inspecting me just as closely. I started at the giraffe and let my mind wander. Zeke didn't divulge any specifications on the type of animals his people had transformed into, but the legend said they were species that didn't belong here. I tried to capture wisdom in the giraffe's eyes, a touch of sadness. She'd lost her family, her magic, and her own beloved body. She gazed out of the forest at the town, at the people who had stolen everything from her. Good work, Cammy, Taylor praised. I gave him a small smile and peered over at his drawing. The trees seemed more innocent and more forgiving than the ones in Jason's picture. A kangaroo peeked around the edge of one tree, and a monkey hung off the branch of another. I looked over at Carly and Natalie's sketches next. Carly seemed more cheerful, her animal's eyes soft and childlike, and similar to Taylor's. Natalie's drawing was darker, and the moonlight gleaming menacingly down on the nearly bare trees. A wolf howled up at the moon, its haunches raised somehow. Somehow we'd have to make all our ideas merge into one. The next several days passed, and my life finally began to develop a sort of routine. Every other day after school, I spent time with Natalie, finishing homework and studying for exams. I still didn't know which college I wanted to attend, but I needed my grades to keep doors open to whichever one I might choose. We switched back and forth between her house and mine, but due to the lack of a distracting little sister, we usually ended up studying in my room. My mum tried to hide her satisfaction that I had a solid friend, one that I spent time completing schoolwork with instead of drinking or doing drugs or whatever other worries might keep her up at night. Hell, I'm 34 and I still don't know which college I wanted to attend. I ended up just going to a close one because, I didn't want to live on my own. Ideas merging into one. What sort of amalgamation of an animal are they drawing? To protect the vowels from devastation, to unite all sheep within our nation, to denounce the evils of truth and love, to launch our sheep into the stars above. See, I can't say that because I'm English, so I can't make the sheep joke. But you made the sheep joke for me, so it's fine. 10 out of 10. Farmer Jesse, Farmer James. Bah, that's right. Lovely. 10 out of 10. I love it. Gotta be for the Welsh that. It's definitely for the Welsh that. We have a Welsh person in the Twitch chat. If you don't know something at 34, just search for Rule 34 in finances. You probably should not do that. I do not advise that. Who cares? Lovely, just wanted to make you giggle over a bad joke. Mission successful! It's wonderful. 10 out of 10. Love it, love it, love it. I look up Rule 34 for other things. No more Rule 34 in the chat, guys. Not safe. Not safe for stream. On the days between, I devoted my afternoon time to Zeke. My mother was under the impression I had taken up hiking, which was a complete lie. The clearly marked trails I promised I stayed on might have not existed, but I could hardly tell her that I was accompanied by a wild boy who knew the forest like the back of his hand. That little detail was better kept to myself. At first I struggled to keep up with Zeke's long legs and instincts that showed him the perfect places to step. I was gasping within minutes of trekking uphill, fighting weeds and brambles the whole way. Zeke was patient with my frequent need to brake, and he always held the worst possible obstacles out of the way until I passed. Ah, I need a good un. Clicky. Oh, yeah, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Thank you, Sneaky Silk. Yay. The college I chose was because it was one bus stop away. Practicalities, same though. Same dough. The very simple decision process at 18. Bus ride to stop. Basically the same, yeah. Actually, my problem was I lived in a small town and the transport connections were shite. So I was actually always late for my first lecture. Always late. Always, always, always. Because there was just no... It was either I got there like an hour early and had to get up at like stupid o'clock in the morning, or I got there like 15 minutes late. And I decided 15 minutes late is a sacrifice I was willing to make for my education. Rather than getting up too early, because it would have killed me. After every demonstration of his abilities, my eyes widened in wonder. I squeezed his hand with reverence. I couldn't help but notice the shy, satisfied grin that erupted on his face every time I gasped in amazement. Perhaps my reactions to his magic were just as stunning to him as his magic was to me. He had been raised to fear people like me, people on the outside, because we would see his abilities as a danger that needed to be eradicated. But with the knowledge that his magic would never be used to hurt me, I could appreciate his powers for what they were. A beautiful gift that the world never should have rejected. Blame the ears. I mod streams for a lot of VTubers. I have some time off, and you hooked this fish. Oh, yeah! Thank you, Easter. I normally wouldn't have the ears, but thank you, Easter. We appreciate this. Easter got me a follow. Nice. Thanks, Jesus. I always look up at 5 when Brian was still awake at 5. When did you get up? I can't remember when I got up back then. Now I just kind of roll out of bed when my boyfriend's alarm is on, and I don't know when that is. It's just on. That's just the time I get up. I think it's around, because he has to leave for like 8, so I don't know, it's probably about 5:30. Sounds about right. Sounds about right. I had that same issue for work. I had to reroute a totally different part of town in order to not have a betting pool on if my bus didn't show. Oh, that's the worst. Again, I live somewhere where transport was shite. So there was a good chance that the bus would just go straight past me when I was at my stop, because it needed like catch up on stops, and my stop was just the one where it would sacrifice to get the time back, and I was like, for fuck's sake, I need to get to uni! But no. Anyway. It was on a Thursday afternoon that he again brought up the subject that I'd hoped he'd simply forgotten about. We were sitting in a large bed of weeds, bordered on all sides by saplings and brush, created an intimate space for us to lounge comfortably in. I'm still taking you to meet my family. Zeke's eyes were bright and full of laughter, probably because he knew how I would react. I groaned. meeting the family is a little scary. Always is. Zeke smiled and reached forward, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. You're ready for this, Cammy. I know you are. I hope you are, because I want to meet the family too. Hello, native gamer. Welcome. We're having a nice lurk. My bus at night. I'm trying to clock out. I don't care about that guy waiting to stop. Yeah. Don't just exclaim, Christ. As a gamer, the first 6 letters of my name is confusing. Just done eating a big dinner. Oh, lovely. A lovely Easter dinner. The frightening thing was, I thought he might be right. I spent the last 2 weeks getting to know him, and I wondered if there was any person outside of my family who understood better. It was just the facts about his life and his upbringing. It was the way he moved and spoke and observed the world around him. I didn't think I'd ever feel so completely at ease with someone I'd known for such a short period of time. When he was gone, I felt his absence as a tangible hole in my chest, an aching bubble of space that could not be filled until I finally met him in the forest once again. The strength of our connection frightened even more. This ex-landscape gardener was lined of penguins. Should make the family chill. I would make all of the excuse not to show my girl my family. And when she inevitably gets me to show her my family, I'd be like, told you I wasn't making that stuff up. When you have a family you don't want to show. Hope she's ready for the most stressful part of meeting the family. Being invited to stay over for dinner and figuring out that routine. Oh my god, yes. Everyone's routine is different, isn't it? I remember when I was younger, I could go over to stay over at other people's houses. And everyone's routine was different. There was this one family I was friends with. They were highly religious and also did not own a TV. So their routine was so foreign to me. They were a nice family. And I really enjoyed being friends with her. But it was so strange. So strange. We'd normally be crowded around the PC and watching movies on there, because that was the closest thing we had to a TV. Let's say I was ready to meet them. I mused quietly, catching his hand again. You're absolutely sure they wouldn't hurt me? Zeke laughed, and I felt the vibrations as it shook both of our bodies. They'll do something to you, alright. He winked. They'll tell you stories about me that'll make you wonder why you ever gave me the time of day. They'll show you I'm really nothing special, not when all of them can do the things I do and more. Oh, hello, Maiden Hasegal. Welcome. Happy Easter! It's great to be in your chat again. Always lovely community. Yeah, they are, aren't they? They're all lovely. Every single one of them. Lovely people. Except for when they're bullying me. Then they're poo-poo heads. I shook my head and rolled my eyes before grabbing a wandering caterpillar and placing it on his shoulder. I don't care if they can all wield magic. You'll still be the most special to me. Aww. I blushed and looked down as soon as the words left my mouth. While Zeke had been open from the beginning about how he felt for me, I'd been hesitant in revealing my own feelings. At least through words. I'd never been able to discuss my feelings with people easily. I knew how I felt most of the time, but when I tried to voice my emotions, I could never seem to find the right thing to say. Routines. At this point, I think ours has degraded into non-existence, thankfully. Pats the flute, respectively. Have a good rest of your day. You too! Also, it's chat's jobs to bully you, silly bunny. Mwah, no, I don't want to bully. You big bullies. Me. They do, they like each other. Zeke and Cammy sitting in a tree. KISSING. Thankfully, Zeke had made it clear that he didn't expect anything out of me. He'd never pressured me to do anything or say something I wasn't comfortable with. He was the most patient guy I knew, and I didn't know if that had to do with his upbringing in the woods or if it was something simply instilled in his character. From the corner of my eye, I watched Zeke guide the caterpillar onto his finger. He smiled and considered the insect. I wondered if he was happy about what I said, or thinking about something else. Saturday is my sister's 12th birthday, and we'll have something special in store that night. I want you to come and meet with everyone. As he spoke, the caterpillar changed before my eyes. Words couldn't describe the beautiful transformation, but within a matter of seconds, the butterfly lifted from his finger and flapped around both of our heads. It landed on my wrist, and its touch was feather-light, as soft as a kiss. I nodded absently and beheld the small creature as it took off again and disappeared into the trees. I tried to imagine what it would feel like to have a life changing in my hands, to have the will and control to change someone or something into something new. But maybe I wasn't destined to bring about this kind of change in another being. Maybe I was meant to be the butterfly. Aww, this is sweet. 5 years of modding several hundred channels. It's our job to protect the pretty lady. Aww. Aww. You're sweet. You're sweet. Fine, I'm mega nerd. Then. No, Chase, you're a nerd. Chapter 14. Wait, I just realized I forgot my bloody water bottle again. I'm getting terrible at remembering my water bottle. Frick, 1 minute. I will be back. I'll be back. Don't go anywhere. Hydration acquired. Luckily, I didn't need to refill it this time. It was already full. Yay! Okay. Let's actually use the hydration as well as grabbing it. You know, healthiness. Keep my throat intact. Chapter 14. Let's go meet the family. Not too much about these missing girls and stuff. You need to find out who drew it ASAP. Let me see if I get the link for you. Let me get the link for you. I'm happy to promote some artists. I hired them on Fiverr, so I can give you like their Fiverr link basically. This one. It was... Can I go on their profile, not just the job I hired them for? There we go. Let me put that in chat for you. Translate you to this one. There we go. So that's the lady who did the art for my pause screen and start screen and end screen. If you're curious. They are wonderful and incredibly good value for money. They should probably be charging more, I'm not gonna lie. So, should definitely be charging more. Okay. It was still light out when we entered the trees, but I estimate that we left the sun behind about a mile ago. This was deeper into the forest than Zeke had ever taken me before. The trees were so thick, they seemed to be growing on top of each other in places, and the canopy over our heads was a living thing, whose sole purpose was to prevent us from ever seeing sunlight again. The light of its setting rays filtered through the foliage, leaving us with a green glow to illuminate our path. As we drew closer and closer to our destination, I couldn't help glancing over my shoulder at the dark shapes that skirted around the edges of my vision. Each time I was met with the same never-ending wall of green. The shadows here seemed to abide by their own rules. Zeke squeezed my hand reassuringly, while I tried to remind myself why I was doing this. There was a reason I'd lied to Mum and told her I was hanging out with Natalie. Natalie, who had wanted to drive us to Rollins for dinner and a movie, was under the impression that I was sick and bedbound. After all, there was the possibility that I'd end up bedbound after meeting Zeke's family. I still had no idea what to expect. Zeke glanced my way, his eyes concerned as they travelled over my face. I knew I had to be white as a ghost, or perhaps a sickly shade of green with the help of the garish lighting. It was cool and damp this far into the trees, but that didn't stop the sweat from collecting on my brow and neck. "It's all going to be fine, Cammy," he said for what had to be the 100th time. I met his eyes but couldn't return his smile. All my focus and energy was going towards taking each step forward and breathing. I continually had to remind myself to breathe. "Do they know I'm coming?" I managed to ask. My voice was rough from lack of use. It felt like hours had passed since I'd done more than nod my head and shrug my shoulders. As long as Zeke was telling the truth, and I wasn't really walking towards my death sentence, but he'd been leading me down this weeded path for quite some time, I couldn't help but viewing it as my own personal green mile. Which end would be worse, an electric chair or a coven of angry witches? Zeke dropped his gaze, his lips pursed into a straight line. "I thought it would be better if we surprised them." Zeke! Oh my god, that's so stressful. Why would you do this? I gulped. I didn't bother asking any more questions after that. I could tell we were getting close when the trees seemed to thin fractionally. The shadows flitting around the edges of my vision became more frequent, and when a brush shuddered 10 feet to my right, I knew we weren't alone. But even as I became aware of the bodies closing around us, none of them bothered to show their faces. It was like they were waiting for a cue, an invisible command to hold off their attack until the right moment. I trembled as I contemplated when that would be. Zeke slowed his pace to a stop and looked over at me. His expression was carefully arranged, but his calm visage was just a little too forced to be genuine, because he's probably nervous as heck too. A muscle in his face twitched, revealing he was just as nervous at our situation as I was. "Ready?" he asked. My eyes were wide as I inspected the trees in front of us. Surely we hadn't arrived at his home yet. The patch of forest that lay before me was identical to the one we just left behind, unbroken by any signs of human dwelling or evidence of life at all. I moved my gaze up the trees, searching for tree houses or anything that might offer shelter to a group of 50 witches. Finding nothing, I shrugged my shoulders. "Let's do this." Tightening his grip on my hand, Zeke stepped forward and pulled me into the heart of his coven. My body passed through an invisible wall as easily as stepping through a waterfall. I felt like the water and air combined into one, washing over my skin while also drying me anew. Suddenly the sudden breeze lifting my hair into an arc behind me. I gasped as I took the sudden appearance of log cabins, stone cottages, and the occasional wigwams spread evenly throughout the wide open space. Only seconds ago we'd been standing in the center of a forest with no clearing in sight. Now I stood in a perfectly round meadow, the open sky pink from the setting sun hanging beautifully overhead. The sky was just clear enough to display the moon elegant and full. and waiting patiently for the sun to dip below the horizon. Oh, your voice is so calming while I'm playing rhythm games, making me play a bit better, which is funny. Yes, I will give you a buff. +1 to rhythm game skill when listening to a briny stream. I know this is besides the point, but I'm a bit jealous they don't have to pay rent. Low-key, yes. Oh no, we got chased out of society. We don't have to worry about capitalism anymore. Oh no. Ugh, I wish. I wouldn't have the internet though, which would suck. But you know, I wouldn't have to worry about that as much. I could just crochet my life away. It'd be great. The people appeared out of thin air. They stood en masse before me, some hunched over with wrinkles lining their faces and hands. Others mere toddlers hiding behind the legs of their mothers. All wore the leather skins I had grown accustomed to seeing on Zeke. I was transported back in time, no longer standing in the midst of a witch coven, but rather a tribe of Native Americans. They stared at me evenly, and their expressions all screamed the same thing. Outsider, intruder, threat. I'm always playing Skyrim to brainy streams. That's what shell companies are for. That's true. A twig snapped too close behind me. I knew without looking, though we were completely surrounded. It felt like there were thousands of eyes on us, their stares boring into me from every direction. I trembled behind Zeke and grasped his arm tightly, as if my life were hanging on by the thread connecting us. I wanted to hide behind him like the little ones clutching their mother's legs. Perhaps I was a coward after all. Only seconds passed, but it felt like a lifetime, before the woman stepped forward, breaking rank from the rest of the group. Ezekiel! Sorry for your headphones there, I apologise, but you know, the scream of a mother needed to be done like that. She hissed, "What have you done?" The woman's hair was a tangled mess of black curls that fell and lay against her lower back. A single white flower had been weaved into her hair behind her ear, striking against the black waves. Her bright blue eyes were piercing, full of rage, but they slid past me, suggesting I was too insignificant to be acknowledged. She had eyes only for the boy standing behind me, a boy who glowered back with her with the same icy blue stare. "Mother," Zeke began, his voice stronger than I ever heard it before. "I can explain." They're trying to make the coven kind of like Native Americans by the sound of it. He squeezed my hand reassuringly, and his eyes narrowed. We were in so much trouble. I suppose this is how you've been spending all your scouting time. Oh, you got 94%? 0.71? Damn, well done. 10 out of 10. She demanded. Her shrill voice was nearing an octave that only enraged mothers could reach. I knew you were hiding something, but I never imagined it could be this! Rather than performing your entrusted duties, you've been dabbling with a human! She snarled the word as if I were repulsive, unclean, possibly even uncivilized. But I reminded myself that I wasn't the one wearing animal skins. Now that is some privilege right there. Just because they wear animal skins doesn't mean they're not uncivilized. Anger surged through me at her instantaneous judgment. She didn't know me. She didn't know a single human for that matter. It was unbelievable that she would pass judgment on me based on the actions of a group of people long dead. Society. I can explain. I can't believe you've been hanging out with a normie! Indubitably. I squeezed Zeke's arm even tighter, and I felt my nails bite into the palm of my other hand as I clenched it into a ball. I opened my mouth and sucked in a breath, unsure what I was about to say, but positive that it wouldn't be nice. Stop! Zeke shouted. Just stop! For a moment, I thought his words were pointed at me, that he knew I was about to say something that would dig us into an even deeper hole. Then I noticed his glare, still pinned on his mother, who had taken an involuntary step back. The shocked expression on her face suggested he'd slapped her. Zeke eased himself out of my vice-like grip, and I was too stunned to stop him. He walked slowly forward, towards his mother with his hands up, a sign of peace. I could feel the space between us growing with every step, as he left me stranded in a circle of his people. I shivered helplessly. I was completely exposed. The rich do wear pelts. That's a good point. When he finally reached her, I became aware of the height difference between them. He had to be a foot taller than his mother, whose head was tilted back to meet his eyes in such close proximity. Despite her small stature, her eyes were glazed steel, and I knew that she was the one with the upper hand. He carefully placed his hands on her shoulders and spoke too quietly for me to hear. They talked for several minutes in hushed tones, his mother's eyes flicking to mine periodically. I strained to catch their words, and I knew by the way some of the other witches cocked their heads to the side that they were trying to do the same. Could they magically enhance their hearing? Some of them glanced back and forth between us, timed with his mother's stares. I felt naked. The only girl in the entire crowd who could partake in their couldn't partake in their conversation. Their eyes darted to a young girl with a pretty face who was scrutinizing me silently. Aha, the rival. Her eyes were curious, devoid of the anger she'd seen in many of the faces when I first arrived. I'd seen, not she'd seen. She stroked the chain of flowers draped around her neck absent-mindedly, the other hand hidden behind her back. She gave me a shy smile. Something told me she couldn't hear Zeke and his mother either, and her blue-eyed gaze put me at ease. I felt rather than heard a sign emit from the crowd, as though a universal breath was released that had been teetering them all to their positions. I watched as, one by one, they turned away from me, moving to attend to some task or another. Some gave me wry smiles before walking away, others raising their eyebrows and nodding once in my direction. That's an acceptance! We'll take it! We'll take it! That was terrifying. The energy in the small space had shifted. I no longer felt angry eyes boring into me from every direction, and when I did catch the gaze of a passerby, it was polite. It was as if they were accepting me. What had Zeke said to get us off the hook so easily? Cammy, Zeke called. I turned back to see my forest boy beckoning me. His mother stood to his right, and while her expression was still guarded, it held no traces of the outrage that had painted her face only moments before. I joined their little group and was grateful when Zeke placed his hand lightly on my back. His touch gave me warmth, made me stronger. I could do this. The hardest part was already over. Mother, this is Camille Stone, Zeke murmured. I held my hand out and she grasped it. Cammy, this is Alexandra Rivers, my mother, and leader of our coven. My hand froze mid-shake, my eyes growing wide. Zeke never told me his mum was the leader of the coven. It was bad enough that he had a witch for a mother, let alone one that could order the entire group to attack me. My hand was clammy as I stared up into Alexandra's eyes. She was definitely smirking at me now. I forced myself to finish the handshake, hoping I hadn't hesitated too long. It's so nice to meet you, Camille. How dare you ensnare my son? She purred. Her voice was deeper than I was expecting, no doubt back to its normal level now she was finished screaming at her son. I tried to smile back at her, but probably only managed a grimace. God, I was nervous. Why wasn't there a book I could have read on how to properly meet your sort of boyfriend's witchy mother? How was I supposed to be prepared for this? No one is prepared for this. Witches or not, no one is prepared for this. Cammy, I spluttered. Her eyebrows rose, and I could feel my cheeks reddening. You can call me Cammy. Alexandria tilted her head. Cammy, she said my name slowly, tasting it. I smiled and nodded. My eyes were trapped in her bright blue gaze, unable to move as she stared into me, into my soul. I could feel her surging within my being, her presence as light as a feather at the edge of my mind. I didn't know what she was looking for, or if she found it, because the moment was interrupted when an object flew past both our heads. Ouch! Zeke yelped, the stone dropping from his chest and hitting the ground with a thump. He turned in the direction of the assault to find the young girl who had been watching me. A mischievous smile. Oh, no, it's not a rival. I take it back. It's a sibling. A mischievous smile lighting up her face. She held the slingshot down by her side, no longer concealing it behind her back as she'd done before. Ah, that makes sense. Sneaky. Sneaky. Zeke, my people, take a look at her. A cutie, isn't she? Everyone, right, that makes sense. We welcome her. Yes, that is the entirety of the conversation, most likely. June! He cried, his voice a mixture of amusement and exasperation. June grinned even wider before taking off in the other direction, her short legs unbelievably fast. A sound escaped Zeke that might have been a laugh or a sigh as he took off after the retreating figure. I'll catch up with you in a minute, he called over his shoulder. My eyes widened at the prospect of being left alone in this new place, but my nerves were broken when Alexandra began to laugh beside me. Kids, she said with a shake of her head. Now that she was smiling and not in danger of hexing me into a frog, I saw that she had a very pleasant face, not unlike my own mother's. Her eyes were bright as she took my arm and led me towards one of the stone cottages. Come, I'll make you some tea. Oh, heck yes, let's have some tea. Tea, 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 tea. Ah, sibling approval, very important to have. It's incredibly important to have sibling approval. You can't really get anywhere without sibling approval. Especially if they're close siblings, like, it's not gonna work. The cottage was warm, the already lit fireplace radiating heat throughout the large room. The corner of the open space had to be their kitchen, with wooden cabinets lining the far wall and a stone basin in the centre of one that I could only assume was meant to be a sink. There was no spout built into the countertop, though, and I wondered where the water would come from. Probably from magic. They are magic. A large table and 6 chairs occupied the middle of the room, and the furniture was both modern and ancient. I couldn't imagine that the engravings and swirls etched into the wood were handmade, but I realized they had to be. It wasn't like they could stroll into a furniture store when they had secluded themselves from the rest of the world. Apologies, Lucas. I do apologize for the ads. The rest of the room was furnished with a wooden rocking chair, a plump chair with leather stretched over the seat and back, and a makeshift couch. The couch was covered in leather pieces sewn together, with a few grey feathers peeking out of the corners. On its surface lounged an ancient-looking woman, the lines of her face as deep as the etchings on the wooden chairs. I hadn't remembered seeing the woman in the crowd when I arrived, but she still smiled at me as if she already knew who I was. "Hello, Cammy," the woman greeted, sounding weirdly evil because I didn't mean to make her sound like that. I didn't know if I was more surprised that she already knew my name, or that her voice was almost musical rather than the croak that befitted her frail form. Oh no, I gave her the wrong voice. It's about time that boy brought you home to meet us. Oh, of course, Granny knows everything. Never underestimate Granny. I exchanged a glance with Alexandria, but she simply rolled her eyes and strode to a cabinet to grab some mugs. Was the woman expecting a response to that? It's nice to meet you, The woman smiled widely at me, showing perfectly white teeth that belonged in a body 80 years younger. Praise real voice link. I mean, I can see about potentially reeling back the ads a little bit, but I'm still seeing kind of if I can get a nice balance between not annoying you guys too much, but obviously kind of like making money from it. But I'll see what I can do about it. I don't wanna hurt your experience too much. There's a balance. Your enjoyment is very important to me. So please feel free to give any feedback on whether the ads are too much or too little, or too annoying. Currently they should be about it says 18 minutes, so like every 20 minutes or so, which I thought was kind of fair. I didn't trust YouTube to put them in themselves though, because I feel like they would bombard you. We shall see. Oh goodness, that gave me flashbacks to when I was introduced to my fiance's grandma as the boyfriend years and years ago. Oh, that's a time. I've met the grandma. There's a lot of my boyfriend's family I haven't actually met because they all lived in the country. Alexandra still had her back to me, but she spoke lazily over shoulder. This is my mother, Lucinda. She turned and carried 2 steaming mugs over to us, handing one to me and setting the other one on the tree stump next to Lucinda's head. I didn't know where the water had come from or how she had heated it so quickly. Then, when it didn't appear they owned a stove. Magic. Jeweled in chrome profiles. That's a good way to do it. Magic, I reminded myself. Things were done differently here. I nodded my head at Zeke's grandmother, trying not to wonder how she knew about me when Zeke said he hadn't told anyone yet. I took my place in the stuffed leather chair after Alexandra gestured for me to have a seat. She lowered herself into a rocking chair, giving us the image of a normal family, sitting around to chat. The seat was surprisingly comfortable, and I sipped the steaming tea to give my hands something to do. How much would a grandma actually care? I imagine a daughter of your daughter getting a partner, that'd be too far for me to actually care. It depends how much you dote on your grandkids. Some grandmas and grandpas can be really like nosy with this kind of thing. Or they're really bored, so they're living vicariously through their grandchildren. After a moment of silent rocking, Alexandra broke the silence. I suppose he's told you everything, then? Her eyes were tired, her movements slow. I shrugged my shoulders. I think so. How would I know if there was more to tell? He told me what happened 100 years ago, why you guys live secluded out here. He told me you're all witches. Lucinda barked out a laugh, and Alexandra pursed her lips as if she too were trying to rein in her laughter. Witches! She got out, no longer trying to hide her smile. He used that word! I thought back to the conversation with Zeke. He never explicitly called himself a witch, I reasoned. I had come up with the term myself. Fear shot through me as I considered the possibility that I just offended them greatly, but Alexandra just chuckled. We're magic wielders, she said simply. You humans feel the need to label everything. We are what we are. And that's that. There was that word again. Human. As if she wasn't one. But why wouldn't we try to label or give a name to everything? It makes things clearer. Help to minimize confusion. I nodded my head at her, but held my tongue. Lucinda worked herself into a sitting position, and her blue eyes swept through me. Did he tell you about the curse? I hesitated before nodding solemnly. It was probably the best they knew I was aware of their predicament, that I knew they couldn't truly hurt me. I mean, she could still poison you with the tea. That's not hurting you with magic. Alexandra stopped rocking her chair and cupped her neck with one of her long fingers. I suppose he has told you everything then, she mused. But there was a twinkle in her eye I couldn't ignore, as if she were the one keeping secrets. The front door opened with a bang and June ran inside, followed quickly by her older brother. Their faces were red and bright, and they breathed heavily from whatever chase they had just ensued. The girl cornered herself in the kitchen. Zeke grabbed her playfully, rubbing his knuckles over the top of her wavy black hair. "Mom!" she shrieked, clawing at Zeke's hands. Before his mother could intervene, Zeke laughed and let her go, leaving her hair a tangled mess. How much would Grandma actually care? I wonder if Cammy needs to become daughter of the town's mayor to reveal her BF to everyone. Yes, you have to be some kind of figurative political princess in order to be able to do this. If you don't want him to retaliate, don't attack him in the first place, Alexandria sighed. I had a feeling this might be a normal routine for them. Well, her uncle is already popular with the new generation of students, so maybe that's enough. Yeah, they were saying because he's like on the board of directors and is good with them. That's how they got the house, isn't it? Because like the uncle is in with the mayor and the town and everything. But look at my hair, she wailed, trying to flatten the curly mess. The ceremony starts in an hour. Zeke poked her in the stomach. She slapped his hand away half-heartedly. Don't start a fight you can't finish, child. I'll fix your hair, Juniper. Her mother sighed again. Although I don't really know what the point is. You always look like a wild thing with the way you handle yourself, and everyone's come to expect it. June stuck out her tongue at Zeke and escaped through a door that I assumed led to a bedroom. Alexandria followed her, shooting Jake a pointed look. Behave yourself tonight. And try not to torment her anymore. Tonight's meant to be special. Zeke smiled at me and came over to sit next to his grandmother on the couch. I gazed at the doorway his mum and sister had disappeared through. What's tonight? I asked, interested. Zeke's eyes were bright. The blossoming ceremony. The words held weight to them. An intensity I could feel as a living thing. I didn't know what the blossoming ceremony was, or what it entailed, but something told me it was sacred. I couldn't believe he had brought me along to witness it, and wasn't sure if I was prepared. I suppose he hasn't told you everything, then? Thanks, Grandma. Can you fill us in, Grandma, please? Lucinda smiled and winked at me. I absolutely was not prepared for this. As far as I could tell, the blossoming ceremony consisted of everyone over the age of 12 gathering in the middle of the meadow to stand around the enormous pit of fire. I wondered why they would ever need a large fire enough to burn a small building. They piled enough wood to create a beacon visible from space, and then they added more. The darker, paranoid part of me imagined they were making preparations to offer a sacrifice to whatever entity granted them their power. What could serve as a better sacrifice than an unsuspecting human that had wandered into their midst? I shuddered as I thought of the men binding me to the wood. Alexandria smiled as she sparked the flame at my feet. I clung to Zeke and tried to keep my eyes away from the pillar after that. Oh Lord, she has an imagination. But to be fair, I think I'd think it too. They've all been pretty nice, but you know, it could be a trick. We've watched enough horror movies. Before the ceremony could begin, every face was painted in an array of swirls and colours. The faces of the elderly were brushed with a light hand and left them somehow appearing younger and more innocent. The younger members, like Zeke, were covered head to toe in angry sweeps of colour, the vivid brushstrokes transforming them into something fierce and sinister. They looked like warriors, and I couldn't help feeling once again that I was caught within a tribe of natives. My face was thankfully spared from the young woman trying to run around the camp with bowls of pigment. The only adornment they bestowed on me was a single white lily tucked behind my ear. As I observed the colourful faces around me, I noticed all of the women were giving flowers to wear. Only June was wreathed in a necklace of flowers, their blossoms layered on so thick that the top petals brushed her chin. Oh my gosh, that's a lot. How have they not been found with a ceremony like this? Magic! Magic, Lucas! Magic! But to be fair, a giant fire pleases the subconscious of every human. Yes. Prometheus did us a big solid by bringing us fire because it's pretty to look at. No other reason. I stood to the side as Zeke's people moved in graceful, fluid movements to build the foundation of the fire. The men handled most of the large pieces of wood, but even the women worked together to carry bundles of sticks and deposit them at the pillar's base. It had been taxing work, but none of them bothered to use their magic to aid the process. Perhaps flying heavy logs through the air was more difficult than the feather-like weight of a paper bird. But something told me they were preserving their abilities for a different reason. I continued to clutch to Zeke's arm, as if he might float away, and leave me with the intimidating faces before me. I had a feeling that the son of the coven leader should probably be helping with the preparations of the ceremony, but as the minutes ticked by, no one looked our way with any signs of hatred or annoyance at his lack of assistance. I wondered again how easily I had been accepted into this group. What was the box called again, where Prometheus was sealed? I heard that Prometheus followed up the gift of fire by inventing the lava lamp. Was Prometheus sealed in a box? Was Prometheus not the one that got like tied up to a rock and had his organs and eyes pecked out every day? Was that not Prometheus? Or was that someone else? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he wasn't sealed in the box, but there is Pandora's box. That's a whole nother thing. Zeke, I whispered hoarsely. He turned his head towards me in question. His eyes were bright, almost glowing in contrast to the dark coating. His face paint. Yeah, I think Prometheus was the one on the rock with the bird and the bad stuff. Yep, bird and the bad stuff. Great description, love it. What did you say to your mum when we first got here? I swallowed as I remembered the tension in the group, the rage that rolled off them in waves, with Alexandria riding the crest. After Zeke spoke to his mother in private, it was like a storm had been quieted, returning the water to a smooth, rippling tide. His people had even smiled at me after that. How did you get them to accept me? Zeke was silent as he took in the curiosity in my eyes, the fear concealed mere inches behind it. The sun was completely down now, and the firelight from the torches encircled us, dancing across his painted face. I couldn't tell in the shadows beneath his eyes were a trick of the light or something else. As if making a split decision, the shadows vanished. I told him the truth, he said with a smile. The sudden appearance of his white teeth was a little unsettling. I hoped that painting faces wasn't a routine for them, but at least his eyes were the same. I could focus on them. I think Pandora was the one who sealed him to the rock, and Pandora's box is something else. Pandora's box is definitely something else. I'm pretty sure the one that sealed him to the rock was most likely... Who was it? Did he steal fire? It depends where he stole fire from. I can't remember if he stole it from, like, Olympus or the underworld, because then that depends on which brother got him. I shook my head, bringing myself back to our conversation. What was the truth? That he cared about me? Possibly even loved me? It surely couldn't be that easy. Zeke was a teenager after all, and he had brought home the first human girl he'd set eyes on. If it had been me that broke a rule so sacred in our household. I would be pretty sure my mum would still be lecturing me now, hours after the fact. Not to mention the possibility of her skinning me alive. It was Zeus who chained Prometheus to the box. Zeus also gave Pandora the box. Zeus is an asshole. 100% asshole. But then most of the Greek gods were, so they were all very flawed beings. No, there had to be something else going on that Zeke wasn't telling me. I wanted to trust him, but so much of his life remained shrouded in mystery. What if there were more secrets? Ones that could impact me, despite Alexandria and Lucinda claiming I knew everything. I couldn't help feeling like he was keeping something from me. Something big. Hi, Shubi, welcome. I will not read that message. Zeus also bangs a lot of women. Yes. Yeah, it's about every 18 minutes, the ads. I do apologize, I guess I do. I appreciate you putting them up with them, thank you. My thoughts were interrupted by a squeeze of Zeke's hand. I looked up and saw the wooden pillar that was complete, finally deemed grand enough by the people who stood around it. The silence in the meadow was deafening. The absence of the witch's idle chatter pressing on my ears and leaving a static energy to hang in its wake. I followed the eyes that loomed out of the painted faces around me, their gazes fixed on Alexandria. She stood at the head of the circle near the only bare space that prevented the ring from closing. Her hand rested on June's shoulders, whose tiny frame quivered at the massive pillar set before her. It had yet to be lit, and in the growing darkness, June's white face stood out from the crowd. The only colours that marred it were two solid red lines painted just below her eyes. This is the only part where Kratos storms Olympus. I love that part. It's a good part. Great mythology. What ads? If you don't have ad blocker, there are ads on this stream because I would like to make money. But yeah, you might not see them. And it also depends on when you started the stream, so you might not get them all the time. It has been 3 years since our last blossoming ceremony. 3 years since our own Marcus Wolf received his right. Alexandria boomed, slicing through the silence. I jumped next to Zeke, and he squeezed my hand reassuringly. The eyes of the crowd shifted to the teenage boy, positioned a few people to my left. He smiled slightly and bowed his head, his eyes closing, wreathing his face in darkness. Now we gather to witness the blooming of Juniper Rivers. She will take her place in our community from this day forward as an equal. Alexandria gazed down at June, pride and admiration brightening her eyes. June lifted her chin slightly, and the flowers on her chest settled as she evened her breathing. Juniper, will you accept the inheritance your ancestors have promised you? She asked. Will you keep it, nourish it, and wield it for the good of your people? June stared ahead, her gaze fixed on the flameless pillar. I will. Alexandria smiled and let her hand fall from her daughter's shoulders, before grasping the torch that was lit behind her. The flame licked at the air as she carried it forwards, as if it could taste the fuel of the wood before she set it lightly against the foundation of the pyre. It took only a moment for the fire to climb up and down the length of the column, growing 20 feet high in a matter of seconds. I squinted my eyes against the burning light and forced them to open a crack to watch as the fire roared to life. It was the most magnificent thing I'd ever seen. The flames were alive, a power so hot and hungry that I could feel the crackling of the wood deep within my bones. They swirled around the pillar with no regards to nature, transforming into shapes and beings that danced along the wood, only long enough to be engulfed by another flame that nourished it to take its place. I stared in awe at the fire's cruelty, and could feel my reverence echoed in the souls around me. When I tore my attention away from the fire to look up Zeke, I finally understood why they had taken the time to paint their faces and bodies. In the light of the blaze, the colours on Zeke's arms swirled and danced in time with the flames. As my eyes travelled upwards, I watched the phantom flames that licked around his neck and face. His blue eyes shone, two solid stones of ice that were impenetrable against the heat of the inferno. I didn't cringe as I beheld the inhuman face before me. He was as magnificent as the fire. He was one with the fire. I realized, just as every person standing in that ring was one with another. Alexandria reclaimed her place at the edge of the circle, and the torch already consumed and contributing to the blaze. As she turned to look back, the rings shifted ever so slightly to fill the gaps around her and June, adding them officially to our ranks. Before Juniper can receive her birthright, we must partake in the wisdom of revealing. The fire was mirrored in Alexandria's eyes as she spoke. To prepare for the future, we must acknowledge and accept our past. Your soul lost? There is fire. Something Firewatch reference. Without speaking, Alexandria allowed her arms to fall to her sides. She carefully grasped the left hand of June and the right of Lucinda, who flanked her other side. Immediately, all around the circle, the witches linked hands. I could see no order in their placements. The old linking with young in places, and the young linking their young in others. I realized the circle closed on either side of me, that I was the only one left, the only gap preventing the ring from completion. Zeke held my left hand, and to my right a witch reached for me. Her blonde hair turned orange in the light of the fire. I hesitated and looked at Zeke. Surely I wasn't allowed to do this. Zeke said I would watch the ceremony. I thought I would be standing on the sidelines observing from afar like the outsider that I was, but here I stood in the middle of all the action, seemingly one of them. Like there truly was nothing he would hide from me. Zeke nodded his head slightly, and I accepted the witch's hand. I felt their power immediately. It began as gentle humming in both my hands, radiating from Zeke and the blonde witch like a quiet sigh of air. It travelled up my arms and down my legs, encompassing my body with its caress. As it moved, it transformed from a dull humming to a solid thrum, pulsing through my veins, as if charged by the beat of my heart. There was drumming in my ears, and I wondered if it was echoing my ever-increasing heartbeat, or if it was somehow placed there by the magic that flowed through my being. When Zeke's hand began squeezing mine gently in time to the beat, I knew everyone must be hearing the same thing. Through the link of the witch's hands, I could feel the presence of every individual in the circle. To my left, Zeke seemed to emit a woodsy, smoky aura, so similar to his scent that I had come to recognize and love. The presence of the witch to my right felt crisper, like a freshly sliced apple or orange. All around the circle, I could feel the semblance of every person through this strange new connection. I realized that while I might not possess any magic of my own, my body could act as a conductor, allowing the magic to pass through me and enter the next available source. The magic warmed my body in a way the fire could not. It trickled through my veins like honey cocooning me in its warm, golden web. I closed my eyes out of instinct, allowing the energy to take over. I heard Alexandra's voice as if she were calling through a long tunnel. Whether she spoke out loud or directly into my mind, I didn't know. I didn't care. There was nothing in the world at that moment but the thrum of the magic in my veins, the steady beat of the drum in my ears, and the soft pulsing of Zeke's hand that kept me tethered to the earth. These images have been passed down, generation to generation. It is our charge to keep them, share them, and remember just how far we've come. Her voice was melodic, swirling around my head, but I didn't have a head, did I? My body was gone. I was nothing but darkness and heat. The drum beats filling the void, echoing around my mind until my head contained nothing but its rhythm. A squeeze from somewhere to my left pulled me back, reminding me I was alive. Out of the darkness came a vision. A young girl who looked a lot like June. Her black hair tied back in a delicate braid. Her nose was a little too long, her eyebrows wider than June's, but they could have easily been sisters. She was alone in the darkness, but her eyes were focused ahead of her, concentrating on something not too far away. Slowly she raised her arms, her palms facing forward and revealing long white fingers. The darkness erupted in light, and a fire sparked to life in front of her. It was the first fire. I somehow knew. The first act of magic since the beginning of Zeke's people. The girl's eyes softened and she smiled shyly before disappearing in a wisp of smoke. Out of the darkness again came another face. A man looking to be in his mid-30s. Unlike the girl's eyes, which had been full of innocence, this man's eyes were cunning, concealing a darkness that rivaled the blackness on either side of him. There was a hunger there, like he hadn't eaten in weeks, and was finally staring down a 3-course meal. "No, please don't!" The voice echoed around the tunnel of my mind, its carriers standing just outside of my view, shrouded somewhere in the blackness. The man smiled. Rather, he showed his teeth in a malicious grin. And if my stomach had been present, it would have clenched at the sight of those teeth. A chilling grazing my spine. The man opened his mouth and spoke in a language I didn't recognize, one that possibly wasn't of this world. There was a cry as something happened to the person who had been begging for mercy. I was suddenly thankful I couldn't see him. Couldn't see whatever was causing him to make such a guttural noise. The man smiled at his handiwork, his cold black eyes satisfied for an instant, and then his eyes widened, and he too was screaming as his body folded in on itself. I could hear the breaking and crunching of his bones, and his arms snapping inwards, his legs collapsing and bending at odd angles. My mind flinched as he screamed, and just when I thought it would never end, his voice vanished. And so did his body. The thing left in his wake was 5 feet long and slithered along the ground. Its scales were the deepest blue, almost black, and it opened its mouth to bare its fangs at me. The snake raised itself up and hissed. And then he disappeared, just like the girl who had preceded him. I embraced the darkness that filled his void, so grateful that the scene was over. But I could feel something else lingering in the darkness. It paused at the edge of my vision, like it was only waiting for a moment for me to catch my breath. I didn't want to know what new horrors might be hiding in those shadows. Didn't want to watch another person getting disfigured before me. I didn't know if I could handle it. But then there was that pressure again somewhere to my left, a comforting squeeze reminding me I wasn't alone. "Just one more," it said. "You can do this. Told you, I was getting really into that. I kind of like didn't look at chat for a hot minute. Yeah, it's getting a bit hard now, right? Gotta be careful conducting energy. Need to be grounded. Magic works like electricity, right? It could do. It would be awesome if Cammy could use magic now. It could potentially do that. This could maybe be an awakening for her. I nodded my head, or tried anyway. It wasn't like I had a choice. This wisdom revealing would run its course, and I would be a prisoner in this darkness, and those two hands that held mine until they saw fit to release me. The final vision took its form around me, this one different from the others. There was no blackness, no single person to dominate the dream. I was looking through the eyes of someone that was much taller than me, an increased distance to the ground at first, making me queasy. I stood at a large house that had been well taken care of. My house, I quickly realized. The wallpaper was bright and faded, the rich wooden floor shining as I rushed through the living room to grab various objects scattered about. A jacket draped across the couch, a leather bag filled with supplies. The floorboards didn't squeak. "Hurry!" I shouted at someone in another room. My voice was deep, definitely male. "We have to leave now!" I heard footsteps pounding down the stairs, followed by a wailing baby. I met them at the bottom of the step. The woman couldn't have been older than 20, her cheeks flushed and her eyes bright as she bounced the baby on her hip. Her steely blue eyes and black hair were all too familiar, even if this memory was 100 years old. I urged the woman in front of me out of the door and onto the porch, keeping pace beside her while we ran straight for the line of trees. Without the walls of the house to drown them out, shouting assaulted my ears from every direction. There were men and women everywhere, some screaming and crying, others pulling children by their arms as they too headed for the cover of the forest. It was just after dusk, the sky forfeiting the last of the sun's dying glow. An ever-growing darkness, the torch flames were easy to make out as they chased the people mercilessly into the woods. "Satan worshippers!" they shouted. "Kill the evil! Blot them out!" Even louder than the shouting were the gunshots cracking through the air and filling my nostrils with their acrid smoke. I couldn't turn to see where they came from, couldn't look to see who had fallen. We reached the trees and joined the throng in our flight to escape the flames of the torches, a blur all around us. I ran deeper and deeper into the woods, shouting at my people to follow, but the torches were closing in, and we were so outnumbered. We were all going to perish by the hands of the people we had believed to be our friends. They circled around us now, and I knew there was no chance of escaping. My head spun as I tried to find a solution, something that would get us all out of here alive. But she'd already figured it out for me. "Take Lucy," my wife commanded. Before I could protest, she was pushing the little crying ball into my arms and turned to face our pursuers. I understood what was happening a second too late. The woman spread her arms and screamed an incantation that was just audible over the shouts of distant gunfire. All around us, torches dropped to the ground as their wielders gave up their lives. Lucy hushed in my arms as we both stared at her mother and the sacrifice she'd just made for us. She turned back to look at me, to allow me to stare at her face one final time. "Go!" she breathed, and I knew it would be the last word she'd ever speak. Clutching my daughter tightly, I gathered at the few of us that remained and trekked deeper into the woods. I distantly became aware of the animals that joined their ranks, but didn't pause to welcome them. Their sacrifices couldn't be in vain. I pushed my people onwards until the humans held no chance of tracking us. inspected the faces of those around me, noticing dirt and tears that stained their bodies and faces. I eyed them all gravely as we silently agreed as one. This atrocity would never befall us again. I was jerked out of the mind of Zeke's great-grandmother, like being ripped out of the clutches of a nightmare. Grandfather, even. And a nightmare was exactly what I had just escaped from. I could feel the ache in my arms and legs from running miles through the forest, could still hear the baby wailing as her mother was left behind to become something else. Lucinda, I realized. The baby had been Zeke's grandmother. I looked over at her discreetly and noticed a single tear had fallen onto her cheek. Besides her, Alexandria bowed her head in respect for the ones who had fallen. All around me, the witches bowed their heads in turn. June lifted her face and stepped forward into the ring, the hands of Alexandria and the man to her right falling limply at her sides. As soon as their contact was broken, I felt the energy dissipate out of me, its warmth returning to whatever or whoever it had come from. I shivered slightly in the cool night air. The fire still burned brightly, towering over us with a height that suggested we'd only been in that dark place for a minute. I felt like she'd been standing there for hours, though within that time I'd somehow managed to age a few decades. June approached the fire with determination in her eyes. She walked right up to it, so close I was afraid its intense heat would burn her. Silently she stretched out her hand, as if she planned on petting the flames. The fire obeyed her call and fell quickly into a pile of ash at her feet. There was no trace of the wood that had towered above her only moments ago. No lingering smoke to scent my nostrils. June clenched her fist, and the flames of the torches around us snuffed out as well, leaving us in utter darkness. God damn, that was intense! Ah. I need a moment. I need a moment after reading that. Holy shit. But yeah, and it's very much an Encanto moment. We got to, like, experience the whole scene. But it explains why Zeke feels the loss of things. Despite not being born at the time, why he feels it so solidly. Because they literally experience it every single time someone turns 12. Which is crazy. It's very understandable why he has that big connection to his family now, and also even more crazy why he has fallen for a human and what the reason was. Now, I mean, I'm almost more curious about them now that I know how important this is to them. I'm gonna let you up on the ads for this one. No ads for you. Skip those ads. Do I want to carry on with chapter 16? We only have 10 minutes left. I kind of wanted, how long, chapter 16, I kind of want to check how long we've got left in the whole last book. We're only 48% of the way through. This is crazy. This is a big old book. Table of contents. Oh, there's 32 chapters in this. 32. Whisper ASMR reading. Good whisper it. A cursed house, a cursed forest, probably called cursed by the ancestors who hunted the shades. Satan worshippers. Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, it's nearly already been 2 hours. It's crazy. Bah! Should I tell you what's going to happen next week? Next week is April. So we have the grand return of Minecraft. But it's going to have to wait a day. Because tomorrow I'm gonna play Apex Legends. Because I am a GG FPS god. I should be showing these skills off, obviously. Obviously. Uh-huh. That's what's gonna happen. Oh, I kind of want to keep reading, but good lord. That was a lot. I kind of need to stop for my own sanity. It's good, though. I really like this book so far. I'm a little sad it's taken a long time to get to the murder, though. And, like, it's not... It's on the front page. Where's my cover? Where's the cover? Let me show you. It says it on the front page. Here. A secret admirer, a serial killer, a hard choice. Where's the serial killer? We're nearly halfway through and there's been no murders. Serial killer needs to up his game a little bit here. Because I don't know where he is. And I would like to... I was hoping with it being a serial killer one, there'd be more of a whodunit kind of feel to this book. A bit more mystery side. But there hasn't been. What it has been really good. It's been very, very textbook YA, and it's been nice for that, really. Serial killer was the generations we made along the way. Because, I mean, we've had one girl go missing. So I safely assume that's, like, where the serial killer's coming in. But I guess if we're gonna have the big witchy bit, we're getting to the halfway point of the book now. So I'm hoping from this point on things will start mixing. The two worlds will start mixing, she'll start struggling to keep secrets more. And there'll be a serial killer on the loose! Which would be cool. I'm also kind of sus at her uncle. About how much he knows about the town's secrets. Because I don't know. Because he's not in charge of the town, but he's basically in charge of the town. And it's whether he knows about the witches. Like I said, 100 years isn't that long. But it says like, oh, it's a whole 100 years ago. Like, bro, that really isn't that long. In terms of history, that's a blink. That's a blink. It's barely history. Yeah, the uncle was weirdly staring at the forest that one time. Yes, and he stopped them from going in any further as well. And I don't know whether that's he knows about them and is trying to keep them separate, trying to keep them protected. Or whether he knows about them and he's like, if those Satan worshippers come out of the forest, I'm gonna get my gun. I don't know which one it is. How American is his response? Oh, it's been good so far. I really enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed it, and I don't say this one often, but if you've enjoyed it, you can pick up your own copy. You don't have to wait for me. There are links in the description to it. And if you do enjoy it by the end, it would also be really good if you could leave some reviews for the author. It's always very useful to review your books because it's free. And it really does help out authors. So yeah, leave reviews for the books you read on things like Amazon and Goodreads. But don't leave it if it's mean. Don't leave it if it's mean. It hurts. It hurts physically when people leave bad reviews. Physically, mentally. No, you should always give your honest feelings in a review. But I do sometimes live by that. If you don't have anything good to say, just don't say it. Maybe just one good point, one bad point. But if it's not your cup of tea, then maybe you just shouldn't review it. Hurts spiritually. It does. I had one on Moon Girl that was like, don't buy this book. And I was like, why did you review it? If you don't like it that bad. I'm an angry book reader. Avigent, but not books. Yo, where's the part where Goku fights Hello Kitty? I don't think that'll be until later in the book, to be honest. That seems like more of a climactic thing, and we all know Hello Kitty's gonna win. Because Goku ain't got shit on Hello Kitty. But hello, Cooler Soup, welcome. Why did someone say don't read it? I don't know. They just clearly did not like it. It was just in one of my reviews was like they were just really mean. It was just a very mean review on one of my books, and it hurt. It hurt me. It didn't say why not to read it. They just said it was bad. And that you shouldn't read it. And it was like mean. Like, why would you do that? Why would you do that to someone's hard work? Like, come on, if you didn't like it, just don't say that. Like, I'll just be like, wasn't my cup of tea, okay? But, oh yeah, that would be spoilers. I do apologize. We spoiled the Hello Kitty and Goku fight. She ended sentences with a preposition 0 out of 10. It wasn't the full series, 0 out of 10. The protagonist is a pretty redhead, 0 out of 10. Hey, you want to see my book? I don't show my book enough. You guys should. I should show you my book. I don't show it enough. Let's look at my pretty cover of my book. Well, we've got like 5 minutes still. Where is it? Exactly! At least give some constructive criticisms. At least, I mean, a lot of the people who like give me negative reviews, they give like reasons for it, and I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, that's fine. But like, Moon Girl 1 gives you the feeling of a new writer. See, that's fine, because I was. Here's my book. Everyone should read it. There's links in the description for this. Hey, look, doesn't it look so cool? Oh, that's me. I'll move me out a little bit further this way, actually. No! I want to stop moving me. There we go. There it is. Yay! I wrote this book. And I wrote 3 other books. 4 other books, actually. 4. Waifu isn't real. 0 out of 10. Is there a discount code? There used to be, but no one ever used it. But I can make one just for you guys right now. I can do that. That's within my power. It can't give you a discount code for Kindle though, because Amazon's an arse like that. But I can give you the discount code for Smashwords. If I can sign in, because apparently it's been that goddamn long since I even opened this shite. Here it is. Really? Really? Is it remembered? Did I use this email or the other email? Oh yeah, yeah, there we go, I'm logged back in. First week discount code for Moon Girl 6. There will probably be discount mood. Oh no. No. Oh, I forgot. I needed to swap Smashwords away. Don't worry, just become a Vtuber and get love. Honestly, great. Is there an interactive Moon Girl story game? No, but I have considered making one at a point. Because I ran a Moon Girl. I can't get that discount code for you today. I'm really sorry. Actually, I can't. There's some stuff I need to sort out before. Oh wait, I can. You can get it from my website actually. I can make a discount code for my thingy. Can you try playing on everyone's FOMO and put a 50% off for the first week? Yes, and I will probably make the first one free for a little while, or discount the other one so people can like catch up. That's what we can do. Marketing, no. Sales, gift card sales, no. Getting paid, no. Store products, can I go through there? Now I'm trying to learn on stream. Free? Yeah, I've given the first book away for free a lot. Moon Girl DMC game. I would love that. It would be so good. People would have such cool fighting styles and stuff. Create a coupon. We can do this. So, how about I give you... How much is it normally on my site? $3.99. $3.99. How about I'll give it to you for $1.99 only on this specific product. Coupon code Sunday 31. There we go. $3.50. $3.99. It's valid between now and Tuesday. So you guys could use this until Tuesday on a very specific one. Okay, I want to view the product so I can get the link for you guys. So it was this one. How do I view it? I want to make sure I'm giving you the right coupon code. So you can use this link and use Sunday 31 to get it at $1.99. $1.99. Yeah. Gonna advertise on the Apex stream tomorrow. Super duper grandma shooting action on Monday. Monday the 1st of April. It'll be great. I need to make the thumbnail. I need to make a epic thumbnail for it. And it's gonna be wonderful. I'm so excited. Yeah, buy the book before the code expires. You only have until Tuesday. Then the code expires. Yeah, just before the end. I got that in just before the end. It's great. Bit of shilling. Shill. Sweet shilling skills. Anyway, thank you for putting up with me, guys. That was really fun. I hope you guys... YouTube ad, not you. Oh, sorry. If I was paying attention to the YouTube ads, I would have taken that one away for you. I try not to... Try to let you have a break at the end. But, yes. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Thank you for your support. If you have not already, I would highly appreciate it if you could leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. I would really like. See, I'm on 4799. If someone wants to press that sub button once and get me to 48000, that would be great. That would be wonderful. I want to be at 4.8 because numbers make me happy. Yes. So thank you anyone in chat. Thank you to anyone who lurked. Thank you to anyone who watched the VOD. If you would like to support me in a monetization way, obviously I just gave you a nice shiny coupon for a book, so you can grab a book for a wee bit of mums. And have a look at the other stuff in my merch store. You just used it, yay! Native gamer, enjoy. If you need anything, like a way to open the file or anything, because it is an EPUB, it should work on most Kindle devices if you need it to. If not, I can show you some free things that will open the EPUB version. That's wonderful. Thank you very much for having that. Did it not work? It says $3.99. Did you not use the coupon code? Oh, I'll try to get it to work next time then. Anyway. If you'd like to support in any other ways, you can join the membership. There will be a Patreon stream next week where I will be reading SCP posts, so that'll be fun. If you want to catch that, you need to join members at bookworm level, or a Patreon by, I think, bookworm level there as well. And if you just want to throw some cash at me, there's always Kofi. Kofi, you can throw cash at me for no reason. It's great. But that is it for today. Once more, thank you, everyone. Send to my Kindle. Woo! Yeah! Taking all your money and you're getting my book. Please enjoy. Like I said, if it's not your cup of tea, don't review. But if you do like it, then I would appreciate a review. Just say some nice things. Put it 5 stars. No, put it at whatever's right for you. Like, don't lie. Don't lie. Throws 15k. You violently do it. Do it. I'll take it. I'll take the hit. I'll take the hit for the money. I can't wait to get to a point in Twitch where you can physically throw things at me. I think it'll be great. But anyway, I'll see you tomorrow for Apex Legends. I had fun. I hope you had fun. This has been Bryony Rose with Life in the Forbidden Library. Goodbye. Where's the end screen? There it is.